Welcome to the ARE 5.0 video test prep series. In this video, we'll take an in-depth look at the project management division. This division focuses on issues related to office standards, development of project teams, and overall project control of client, fee, and risk management. You must demonstrate an understanding of and abilities in quality control, project team configuration, and project scheduling. You'll also explore issues related to establishing and delivering project services per contractual requirements in collaboration with consultants. You'll have 3 hours to answer 75 questions in this division, which includes sections on resource management, project work planning, contracts, project execution, project quality control. In resource management, you will need to determine the composition of the project team and how each team member's time will be managed and allocated in order to execute the project. Let's look at a sample question. An architect has a total design budget of $300,000. To estimate the weekly hours for each member of the architectural design team, the following criteria must be considered. The design schedule for the project is 16 weeks long at 40 hours per week. 30% of the total design fee is allocated to design consultants. Firm goal is to achieve a 3.0 multiplier for all employees. 25% of the principal's time will be devoted to the project. Utilization of the project architect and architectural designer should be maximized. Drag the weekly hour allocations for each design team member from the left into the corresponding boxes of the labor schedule. Not all allocations will be used. Here is the correct response. To determine the number of hours to allocate for each design team member, begin by calculating the weekly direct rate budget and removing 30% for design consultants. This is done by dividing the maximum labor budget with the design consultant fees removed by the company multiplier, then dividing by the weeks of the project. Allocate the principal's weekly hours to the project. The utilization rates of both the project architect and the architectural designer are to be maximized, meaning each of the project team members will allocate 40 hours per week on the project. This will provide you the remaining weekly budget to allocate to the project manager. Divide the $825 remaining by the project manager's rate. This is an AE level item because it requires the evaluation of the design budget, the allocations for consultants, and the company multiplier in order to determine the appropriate number of hours for design team members. In the project work planning section, you will evaluate effective ways to develop and communicate a work plan with the assembled project team in order to complete the project. Let's look at a sample question. During the construction document phase, an owner requests changes that will delay permitting by 3 weeks, delay bidding by 2 weeks, and add an additional 3 weeks to the construction schedule. Click on the project completion point in the schedule below that reflects the impact of these changes. Each vertical line on the schedule represents 2 weeks. The correct answer is a 6-week delay. Delays to permitting will cause other items to be delayed, and the overall schedule will need to be adjusted. The delays to bidding and permitting are concurrent, so they push back the start date of construction by 3 weeks. An additional 3 weeks must be added to the construction timeline. The new completion date will be 6 weeks later. This is an AE level item because it requires you to analyze the impact of each of the delays and determine their impact on the overall project completion. In the contracts section, you will analyze the contracts that establish relationships between the architect, owner, contractors, and consultants. Let's look at a sample question. At the end of the design development phase for an office park, the owner reports that a major tenant had backed out of the project. The owner delays the project 2 months to either find a new tenant or secure additional funding. Working under AIA document B101, which of the following should the architect do during the 2-month project suspension? Check the 3 that apply. Request payment for design development. Request 2-month advance fee for construction documents. Prepare final bid package before ceasing work. Assist the owner in lining up a new tenant. Request payment for expenses incurred in the interruption of the architect's services. Submit revised schedule for when the project resumes. These are the correct responses. According to AIA document B101-2017, if the owner suspends a project, the architect is entitled to payment for all expenses incurred up to that point. The architect can also request payment for expenses incurred because of the interruption. And if the project resumes, a revised schedule can be submitted. When an owner suspends a project, the architect should suspend work on the project. So requesting an advance or completing other work is unwise for the architect. While assisting the owner on lining up a new tenant may get the project back on track, It is beyond the scope of a standard owner-architect relationship and is not the role of the architect. This is an AE level item because it requires you to analyze a situation and use your understanding of the contract to determine the delay results in both the suspension of work and consequences for both parties. This section assesses management of the project's execution. It is not about the design-related decisions, but rather the necessary administrative procedures throughout the project. Let's look at a sample question. An owner has purchased a 50,000 square foot parcel of undeveloped land located near an older neighborhood undergoing revitalization. The owner wants to develop the land into a 5-home subdivision. Working under AIA document B101, what steps should the architect take once the owner supplies an initial budget amount for the project? Check the 3 that apply. Analyze the budget against Uniformat for design cost management. Evaluate the budget against the program. Negotiate a higher budget for risk mitigation. Analyze the budget against the schedule. Begin development of design documents based on the budget. Evaluate the budget against market conditions. These are the correct responses. According to AIA document B101-2017, the architect should always evaluate a budget amount with respect to the stated program, anticipated schedule, and market conditions. The architect should not begin the development of design documents without first understanding the budget amount and its impact. Negotiating a higher budget as a risk mitigation technique is not a wise strategy and may jeopardize the project. Uniformat is a classification system used for estimating construction costs and does not apply to project budgeting. This is a UA level item because it requires an understanding of the budget process and the relationship between the owner and the architect. The project quality control section analyzes quality control methods, procedures, and review processes in order to maintain the proper standard of care throughout the entire project, focusing on the necessary administrative procedures throughout the project. Let's look at a sample question. During a peer review of design documents for the local university's new business school building, the reviewer notes conflicting code references for means of egress on the life safety sheet. The architect should design to which of the following? The adopted code of the local jurisdiction, the adopted state building code, the ICC and NFPA model building codes, whichever adopted code is most stringent. Here is the correct response. The Architect's Handbook of Professional Practice discusses how most jurisdictions across the United States have adopted building codes based on the ICC family of codes. At the same time, both states and local jurisdictions have the authority to make changes to portions of the building codes. As the architect, you have a legal duty to design in compliance with all the codes that govern the type and location of the project. Researching the jurisdiction and requirements for a specific project is the responsibility of the architect. When multiple codes conflict, the most stringent code always takes precedent. This is a UA level item because it requires you to understand the relationship between codes and jurisdictions and then to apply them to a specific project. For more information about the Project Management Division, refer to the ARE guidelines. Comments? Questions? Let us know. Be sure to check out the ARE 5.0 community for expert advice and tips from fellow candidates. And for more information about the content covered in each division and tips on navigating the exam interface, please watch our other ARE 5.0 test prep videos.